in their setup definitely gave them a huge edge towards the later stages of the game.
Now we are 1-1 apiece. Fnatic's perfect. Cursed Hollow is broken. And keep in mind that we are now 1-1. It is a best of 5. So we've got at least 2 more maps remaining. Potentially we're going all the way. I personally wouldn't mind that too much.
Yeah.
A 3-2 either way. And this is the first round of the winner bracket. You're watching the Gold Club World Championship. If you just tuned in, there's 8 teams. They all played in the group stage. A best of 2 against each other. So they have experience playing against each other. It was 1-1 between these 2 teams as well. And these teams are already top 6 guaranteed by virtue of being in the upper bracket. If they win this, they'll be guaranteed top 4. And this is ultimately Fnatic's highest daring to wish for ambition, considering the somewhat newer roster. But look at this, taking KSV to a 1-1 already so far.
Yeah, Fnatic, before the tournament started, I actually talked to them just yesterday a bit about, okay, let's be honest here, what were your expectations coming into this? What did you actually think you guys could accomplish with such a new roster and the role swaps? And they basically, there was a little bit of a difference between members, but everybody said, yeah, top 4. Some of them said, I thought we could get top 3, maybe after beating Ballistics, for example. But to be absolutely honest with you, Ballistics, in my opinion, is looking better and better the entire tournament, up to a point where I could actually see them rival KSV Black at the top spot if they continue down that path, because their performance over the group stage was absolutely impressive and how much they improved towards the end.
Yeah, new member Maggie has been fitting that support role so well. SC is now starting to play those really scary heroes, either his Vala, just out of this world, and even his Zeratul, a hero that used to be a quintessential part of all the threats of all the team comps, all the teams, and now barely sees any play.
I find this, by the way, really interesting that Genji has, in terms of experience gathered for the team, such a high rating, and I feel it's very much also thanks to the build that Quacknix shows. We talked about the agile dismount and how fast he can traverse between lanes, and that is one of the aspects that really came into play here.
Here's that KDA. The comparison of Dahaka Greymane, I guess not 100% relatable, as Breeze was main tank and Rich here was the off tank. But that's a nice KDA.
I'm currently wondering if the numbers are wrong or if just a player picture is wrong. If that should have been main in this position. But either or, the MVP of the game is Rich in this case now on his Dahaka. So yeah, they played a great game here for sure. And I'm not quite sure if I would give Rich the MVP here, to be honest with you. Yeah,
I mean, you know, you do what you must in that wave clear, but he was never really threatened on that role. I think if I had to make a choice, I liked Reset's play a lot, you know, on the Ming, getting the kills.
There was that one death at the bot lane where you could argue he should have played that a bit safer. I feel like with Tist we had a mosh pit that was a great zoning mosh pit in the middle of nowhere, basically. So I feel that cost him probably his MVP, but he had 2 great ones, especially the one at the top in the first fight, which led to the first curse. That was a game winner.
We can probably say that Brightwing was MVP as well. I mean, no obvious mistakes, but, you know, I think it was just a really good synchrony between the KSV members in general.
Now, the one thing that I wanted to ask you, when we headed into the draft, and we had like a situation in which we were thinking, okay, which is going to be the support? Are they going to go Rhaegar? Are they going to go into Stukov? Do you think now in hindsight that Stukov as an additional interrupt also against ETC would have been the better choice here?
I think it would have been threatened very much, and without that cleanse, without that burst protect, maybe whoever gets 7-sided would be under big threat. I think Rhaegar ultimately was the right choice, though it really was a toss-up as well.
Well, guys, we have a tie in the series now, and therefore we're going to head into our third game to see who can get the advantage here. But before we do that, we're going to head into a quick break, so we'll be back in a short moment, so take care. The series is tied. Fnatic taking map number 1, but KSV replying in kind on Cursed Hollow and claiming victory. I'm ready for an all-out brawl. I'm not quite sure what I expected coming into the series, but Fnatic is looking a lot stronger than we and many others expected.
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty conscious about the fact that they were not the favorite heading into this. Quacknix this morning was asking, do you think we have a chance? He was asking me. I was like, yeah, you know, you have a chance. And he's like, do you think we have a good chance? And then he was like, but we're just going to play our own game. Eh?
Yeah.
And they said, we don't have to rely on cheese or specific map picks. We are strong. We are aware of where we are. New roster since about, what is it now, 3-4 weeks now? But we are strong, so we are just going to play our own game.
I feel it's one of the things that a lot of people currently underestimate. It's not only true for Fnatic, but it's also true for Dignitas and Roll20. Some teams, sometimes when we're talking about teams, the honeymoon phase, as it's called, is going to give you that, hey, everything is new, it just clicks and things are working out well. And then later on you are going to see how your team reacts when routine kicks in. But with new rosters and especially role swaps, there is oftentimes a lot that goes into the process of streamlining communication, making sure that shot calling works. And that doesn't even touch upon drafting, where all of a sudden you have to make different choices because some players will have to improve their hero pool. It's something that we also see on the side of Roll20, for example. So Dignitas performed better. Snitcher actually talked about this a little bit, where they said before the tournament, he said, guys, if we lose every single game, it's still a great learning opportunity for us. And then he said, well, after the first 3-4 days, he was just sitting in the practice area saying, boys, we need to win this now. So expectations really changed, but for other teams as Fnatic, they have quite a bit of work ahead of them, and I think that's only natural. But so far, I have to admit, they impress in this best of 5, especially since their own expectation for this series seem to have been very low.
And let's see how it goes, as Fnatic will once again ban Abathur. KSV this time taking away ETC once more. And Greymane comes out for Fnatic now. They have 2 members that can play Greymane. It can be Cursed Bullet Mene, or it can be Go for the Throat Quacknix. That still means we could see a Falstad coming out of Quacknix, or maybe a Mage from Mene as well. Fnatic, one of the few teams that has a wide array of mages that they're willing to play in this tournament, and have already shown so between Chromie, Gul'dan, Kel'Thas, and Li Ming. Yeah, and whereas most teams mostly only look at Li Ming.
In this case, I would actually say that Infernal Shrines just absolutely screams Gul'dan to me. If they get a chance of playing him here and he fits into the setup, I think they will lock him down here. We have Arthas on the other hand for KSV Black. That has been a trend throughout the tournament, that when you see Greymane on the opponent's side, Arthas is a really good lock for you. With Lucio now rising through the ranks, not only in the group stage, but even more so in the new patch here, we're having also one of Arthas' biggest weaknesses immediately mitigated by Lucio's additional movement speed. So, great opening for KSV, and also, I want to say a very reactive opening to Fnatic's early Greymane, but at the same time still something that is extremely flexible and that you can build upon.
And also KSV is dealing with the Lucio first pick from the first game, where Fnatic kind of took KSV by surprise, prioritizing that as highly. KSV proceeded to ban it or pick it themselves now.
Yeah, and Fnatic's reaction is going to be an interesting one here now for sure. First of all, it's going to be a question of what's going to be their support role, but also the priority that they have for their mage is going to be important. And in this case, they commit to Gul'dan super early in the draft, because they know that there is a good chance that KSV ban out Gul'dan if they will go into the second ban phase. So Tyrael, the combo with Greymane, and Gul'dan for Mena.
I must say, Kaldor, I expected Gul'dan Anub'arak pairing to come out here for Fnatic, which would potentially threaten the Stukov pickup later, and would also remove one of the counters to Gul'dan. Kind of. Since Anub'arak has that spell armor natively against spell damage from, for example, Gul'dan.
You're talking about the potential pairing of any kind of tank together with Stukov at the front line is actually a really good point, since especially when you get that lockdown, Greymane with the Cursed Bullet is in a spot where he can deliver immediate pressure upon a tank like Arthas. So that would have also been a good choice, and I'm actually pretty sure it's something that they at least considered, especially when we keep in mind how aggressive they were with Gul'dan in the group stage. I feel the choice in favor of Tyrael was first of all because he accents Greymane so well, but also when you have that on-point fight on one of the shrines, Tyrael really gives you that control when you commit to the battle.
And he helps a little bit with that mobility that so far Lucio is helping his team with. Tyrael now can also speed up his allies, slow enemies, and Fnatic has two great Tyrael players between Bad Bunny and Bree, so they still are flexible with their next picks.
Fnatic going straight into the ban on Tassadar again. This actually has been a trend, and as you said before, traditionally they prioritize the ban on Tassadar even higher than they do now, but Abathur has taken over that spot where they're absolutely not willing to give Abathur over to KSV Black. And he has been a threatening force in a lot of these fights, especially with the current meta. You have so many symbiote targets and also clone targets that it can become quite frightening. But on the second ban then, it's at this point always Tassadar, making sure that they have the ban against the potential Illidan play, any kind of additional melee assassin. You can play with Sonya on this map, and of course also our ranged damage dealers that we frequently see with their Tassadar pairing. Either Vala, which has been a counterpart against Greymane, oftentimes on Infernal Shrines, or Tracer.
Right as you finish talking, I stifle a sneeze. That timing. And also two of the best pairings with Illidan, and we know Rich's Illidan is truly fearsome. KSV now brings out Vala and Sonya. They can still go with a support in that fifth pick. One thing that comes to mind could be Ariel. Ariel, Vala, very nice together, strong against front lines as well.
But when you see that as the double pick on your opponent's side, you're probably very happy that you banned out Tassadar. Both of the, or two of the heroes that we just mentioned are immediately picked here. Now there are, of course, as you said, other options that you can use with Lucio just to have the double support setup. But Tassadar would offer vision, wave clear, and then of course also the shields for those targets. So right now, a lot of damage output on the side of KSV. And let's see how Fnatic deals with it. They have isolation with Gul'dan, they need their own support, but we also are still very likely to see maybe an offlaner for them.
We have a number of options here for Fnatic. It can be Anub'arak Stukov, the emerging combo of this tournament. It can be Johanna or Muradin together with a regular support. Again, either Stukov or Rhaegar. But it's actually going to be Diablo and Rhaegar.
Absolutely loving it. Breeze on Diablo, especially on Infernal Shrines, always incredibly punishing. And they played a few scrims with Diablo where Breeze just destroyed the opponent. He loves playing Diablo on Infernal Shrines since it gives him so many opportunities. especially later on in the mid-game and late game, to punish opponents during the Shrine fights. If you can pull it off here, that's going to be the big question, but it's definitely a hero that they traditionally love to play, but found very few opportunities in the past, simply because it didn't really feel like the right choice in the meta. There were always other tanks that overshadowed him, but if a team busted out Diablo here, it would have been either Fnatic or on the North American side, Roll20.
So now KSV, they had to... Okay, they go with the Ariel that we kind of predicted there with that Vala pairing. And that's totally fine. You're against 3.5 melee. Ariel's really good against melee. Pairs up well with Vala.
Also, when you with Oriel go for an Aegis, it's basically just screaming, hey Diablo, do you want to use your Apocalypse right now?
Yeah, that's true. Interestingly, KSV decides to stick with what makes their comp work, rather than worrying altogether too much about the Diablo effect. Another thing that's really exciting for me here, Calder, is that Diablo has barely been played by any of the teams in the group stage so far. One of the warriors that we often didn't even talk about in draft. Now, Diablo's problem is he can engage, but he doesn't have a reverse gear in his car. He can only engage. Getting out is hard, so when he goes in, he needs to make it work.
Now, one of the arguments later on is that you can use Shadow Charge depending on how you approach the fight to get out of the battle again. That's something that Breeze actually does a lot. But you are absolutely correct. The mobility on him is definitely oftentimes a problem. If you want to dive in deep and you miss or you get baited in a little bit too deep, then getting out of that spot is really rough. Breeze is usually trying to toy around a bit of just not engaging into the opponent, but just using the vertical instead, or even just like shadow charging out of it.
Or like sideways, flanking to the side so that you don't displace yourself and isolate yourself too much.
Then you have Tyrael who can help you when he starts moving in with, and of course also the Ancestral. I feel with Diablo it really comes down to, can you at the beginning of the game be aggressive enough that you are in the driver's seat? If that works for you, then you are a huge threat. If you are oftentimes killed and pressured behind, then first of all your soul stacks are going to be diminished, and you're not anymore that imposing presence at the front that has that 6,000-8,000 hit point pool in the end. So that's something where especially KSV, with the tools they have to slow him down, Arthur's and then speeding the stuff with Lucio, can put Breeze in a bit of an awkward spot. So I believe especially the early game, towards level 10 and shortly after, is going to be super important for this game right now. Because when I feel if Fnatic gets momentum with Diablo, you're in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, Diablo momentum means if you get kills, you get 10 souls per kill. That means you reach a higher health pool, a higher spell armor total, if that's his level 7 talent, much quicker than usual. Whereas again, if you're behind, you have no souls. Generally, if Diablo dies once, he will die again because his health pool is gone.
Yeah, and Fnatic has always played some Diablo, at least in scrims. They've not always shown it in HGC, as we said. With the meta and the drafting, it's a hero that is situational, where you're not simply just throw it out and say, okay, this is flat out the best pick for us on this map. But if he fits, they were always willing to at least throw a few practice games in with him throughout the entire HGC season in Part 2 and in Phase 2. And this is just one of those situations where they say, okay, this still works. And other teams are respecting it a lot on the European server, even though in HGC himself it didn't come out as often. Right now they said, now it fits, we can work with this, we're going to use Diablo to get that pressure against our opponent. And especially after domination on level 16, we're going to be able to make those plays. If they can do it, that's something we're going to find out right now, but this is a big play by Fnatic here from what they're willing to show and willing to use to push KSV into a disadvantageous position on the map. If they can take the map, they have the 2-1 lead, but KSV has played fantastic on Cursed.
Of course, we're on Infernal Shrines now, and we see that Vala-Ariel pairing. There's a big potential for KSV to put heavy pressure early on in this game. Ariel with the infinite sustain, with a well-playing Vala, can do so much.
And she can also use that Detainment Strike to simply push Diablo back and a bit out of position. So that's something to watch out for here as well. Oriel has a few tools to deal with this. And then we have Vala with a potential Rain of Vengeance later on as well. Those stuns are going to be an issue. If Diablo gets his stacks together and has that massive hit point pool, then he is definitely a huge force, not going to be easy to take down. So I'm a bit curious to see how that mid game is going to run here. For now, we have the two teams in a tie. Once again, we're looking at a best of 5 here, and this is game number 3 between KSV and Fnatic on Infernal Shrines.
The opening gambit has been made. One Howling Blast quest stack to test. GG.
Hashtag value.
Not quite the... Oh, here we go on Sake. 1 kill by Fnatic. Quite the bigger win indeed. Lucio goes down. Mene, return kill by Rich with that whirlwind spinning damage. Breeze, he goes down as well. Fnatic bites off a little bit more than they can chew, and they will lose 2 members here as KSV gets that return kill. Now we'll get this spread out faster. Luckily for Fnatic, they have 3 heroes alive, so they have 1 per lane. The bare minimum that you can deal with.
Yeah, at this point it's still fine, but that's of course one of the problems that you have, especially when you go up against Sonya and Arthas. The slows, the Howling Blast, and then Sonya with that sustain throughout the fight, and the damage on point is just super frightening. So Fnatic aggressive, so is KSV. The trade on the mid lane where Fnatic takes the initial kill, but KSV replies in kind and drops 2 right now with a slight lead in experience as well. And Fnatic is just trying to get their rotations going. We have up to the top lane, Tyrell going up against Sonya, and Greymane for a moment at least thinking about that's the Tamer strike, by the way. Diablo immediately looking for an opportunity to go in, and Kyoja sees it and just pushes it back.
Yeah, Tyrael Sonya at the top lane is of course a losing lane, so occasionally Quacknix might help out. Breeze, no escape, uses that Shadow Charge as an escape against Reset. Well done. The Tamer strike misses. Had it hit into the wall, very likely Reset can move in with a multi-shot or Hungering Arrow, whichever cooldown was still available, and then take out Diablo, but that is a narrow escape. Diablo definitely gets stronger and stronger as the game goes on. He needs more souls to get that bonus regeneration, so that he can either use a healing fountain or a regeneration globe to, as it were, pre-heal, go into a fight and have 15 seconds of insane regeneration. It's from that levels 1 Devil's Due talent. But for now, Diablo has to be careful.
Yeah, so does Quacknix, who had a pretty rough time there at the top. For a few seconds it looked like he would fall, but KSV couldn't confirm the kill with Rega making the rotation to the top lane. Now we have level 4 on both sides, and Bad Benny is willing to move in with the rest of Fnatic, but it is the lead in minions that we see for KSV. 25 stacks against 0. Fnatic trying to take the position right now. They have a lot of tools that they can utilize here, especially with Mene, of course, dropping the AoE damage, but it's Quacknix at the bot lane that already signals that Fnatic is willing to give up the first Punisher, but still looks for some additional value on the lane itself.
Yeah, that's the only thing they can do, really. When you go up against 30 skeletons like that, very unlikely you'll be able to steal that away. Breeze moving to the top lane. Quacknix did what he can, gets away on time as KSV defends. Doesn't just push with the Punisher, but goes to all 3 lanes. Take note here. Getting maximum experience. And Vala Ariel starting to once again push at the bottom. Mene trying to defend with Gul'dan.
Yeah, and at this point we're still seeing down here that the Punisher baited over the wall. It's not really accomplishing too much. Takes 2 of the towers down. They have still a lead in experience that they established, but it's not really game-changing yet. Mene with a few good hits here in the mid lane. That helps him, of course, also to stack his quest on 1. But still the earlier level 7 talent for KSV. And Breeze is starting to get those stacks together, and this is going to make him a much bigger force to reckon with during the next fight over an objective.
Also curious to see what he will take at level 7. It can be Diabolical Momentum for more abilities, or it can be that Soul Shield, the spell armor, the more souls he has.
Now his usual choice is Diabolical Momentum. He only goes into Soul Shield if he really feels threatened. What a body block here on the other hand, and that is a confirmed kill against Arthas. Diablo's not the only one who is sometimes a little bit slow.
Yeah, nice job there. Body blocks on Arthas. Interestingly, Diablo has negative mobility compared to Arthas because of that frozen waste, but still, as long as you body block like that, nice kill. Diabolical Momentum comes out.
Like, it's his go-to talent. I've seen him, I think, once go over into Soul Shield, and he immediately said afterwards, okay, I needed to take the talent here. There was no other choice, but it felt so strange. So he likes to get that cooldown reduction just because it allows him to also be a little bit more aggressive. As we said before, Diablo doesn't really have an escape, but if you play your cards right, you can at least use the Shadow Charge to move out of a fight again. We saw that earlier in the mid lane when he was trying to escape and successfully did so. So he's going to try and utilize that. And Diablo's biggest power spike in this setup is definitely that level 16 talent when you get with Domination also the reset of the Shadow Charge cooldown.
Now it's a little rough here for Fnatic. They grab a Fallen Bruiser camp, and positionally, timing-wise, it's fantastic. You get the camp, the bottom Punisher actually is the place where it will activate, but they give away a gate, a tower, and a bit of fort damage. during the time that you're taking a camp, anytime the opponent is pushing your fort, generally that's a really bad trade. And Fnatic willingly did so, took a long time with that. Now what they gain from it is a momentary potential 5 versus 4 with Bad Bunny on the flank. In they go.
They go in immediately, trying to go for reset in particular, and he's already low, but Bad Benny is also in trouble. The cleanse hits and allows him to escape, but Sonya's already on her way in. Could maybe even snipe Tyrael if she moves in at the side. Bad Benny on the way back, the spear connects though, and just barely the save here, as Tyrael is in trouble. And so is Fnatic, because even though it was a 5 versus 4 for a long time, KSV was able to push Fnatic back, and they already are so far ahead in the minion stacks that Fnatic resets at the fountain, but still says, boys, it's too late. They're closing in on level 10. We need to get experience because this Punisher is going to hurt one way or another. But with the level 10, it's going to be even worse.
Yeah, you know you're in trouble when you lose that 5v4 fairly definitively. Bad Benny took so much damage to the face. And that's not even Vala's Hungering Arrow build. Oh, the trap on Sonya. Rich. Oh, very nice trap by Fnatic, actually. They posed as if they're doing a Rhaegar Greymane double push at the top, hiding Mene and Breeze until the very last moment. That Q, E, getting Sonya there, but just not enough clout to take her down. And Fnatic with their gambit, with their gamble there, they make an investment that doesn't quite pay off.
And that's the moment when you really want level 10 so that you can deliver, especially with a Horrify, a little bit more CC here. A huge problem for Fnatic now. And this is what we come back to when we talked about the draft. Fnatic needs to have some early momentum. And it's the exact opposite. KSV is the one who has that momentum, hits the earlier level 10, gets the objective, and is now ahead in the game. Now, there's still 2 levels before KSV is going to get the talent advantage. Fnatic has now a lot of one-shot potential with Cursed Bullet taken on Greymane. We have Apocalypse, and we also have, more importantly, Horrify. That can be the game changer in any fight here. If Mena sees an opportunity, he's going to drop it, and then everybody has to be on the same page and annihilate the target.
At this point, it becomes a vision game. KSV sees Bad Benny Tyrael and that bottom lane. So they're in pretty safe position. Boombox scouts the Breeze flank, removing an opportunity for Fnatic to spring a surprise on KSV. Almost none of the camps are available. It is a vision game. Can someone get the jump on the other? Fnatic is the one that needs this fight more than KSV. So KSV needs to play this safely. As for their part, KSV can rotate to that bottom impaler, maybe catch a wild Tyrael if they can. Look at this. Sake, Tist going around the right side. But Bad Bunny, safe position, smites his way out of this.
It was mainly Mena seeing the rotation and calling it out that allowed him to move back here. And we could just once again see how dangerous Lucio can be when he speeds an entire team up and they go for that kill. Without the early call, that could have been a drop of Tyrael. More experience in the hands of KSV and a faster level 13 talent. That talent is already going to be a problem because KSV is going to hit it before the next fight over a Punisher.
Lucio? Oh, I thought Lucio maybe would get caught by Breeze there, but Tist was in position. Oh, QE combination doesn't quite hit.
Yeah, Tist is getting a little bit low, but still is able to move out here. Now we have the Shrine about to activate. Another 5 seconds. KSV doesn't have 13 yet, but they will get it throughout that phase and will have that lead. And then, of course, the big question, will Fnatic give it a completely? Are they going to be willing to engage into it or at least poke away? But nope, they're moving straight to the bot lane. They're saying, guys, we can't fight here. We will have 13 any seconds. Let's just defend the waves. Make sure that we have an opportunity to at least defend on the talent here. So, passive play from Fnatic for now. And they are willing to just give up another objective.
Yeah, KSV orchestrate the mastery of warfare here by creating a position where it's untenable for Fnatic to even engage upon that shrine due to the Impaler push at the bottom lane already. That will go straight past the wall. The keep wall is already gone and would threaten the keep. Fnatic unable to pressure into that level 13. Nice sound wave by Sake. Nope. No shadow charge.
Really well done here. And that's, of course, the tools that they're going to try and use to control Breeze. The 13 is ready for KSV. They're starting to move in here. Fnatic only a little bit away from the next talent. It's still important that they don't fall victim to a Punisher jump and the potential follow-up. Whenever the Punisher gets a stun in, Arthurs would love to follow it up with a Howling Blast. In this case, he can't. Mena even anchoring the side. And they're trying to draw it in a little bit more. They're, of course, willing to give the fort up here, which is the minimal target of KSV Black. If they get more, that would be fantastic, but they would also have to get a kill for that.
Fnatic now recognizing that the Punisher is not the only threat anymore. KSV wants to get a free fort moving in on a full HP fort. A little bit too much for Fnatic to give up. If it's 40% life, maybe Fnatic says, alright, go ahead and have it. We'll defend the Punisher. But they don't want to give up a full HP fort. In they come with the defense. Horrify comes out. Crystal Aegis. Apocalypse.
Apocalypse is in. Sound Barrier also used the kill against Greymane. The Sanctification is a little bit too late. They're trying to go for Rich. He still stays alive, and that is a huge problem. Greymane dying here was an issue. Gul'dan falls as well. If Sanctification hits half a second sooner than that, then in this case Greymane would still survive and they could get the counter kill against Sonya. But as it happens, you can't control Sonya. Greymane is already down. You don't have the damage output, and KSV can simply take the double kill and aim for the keep.
Yeah, fantastic play there by KSV, keeping Sonya alive throughout all that, dodging the Apocalypse entirely, and that kill on Greymane. Now getting a keep. KSV moves out. Wall charge on Sonya. Rich. Whirlwind.
Not enough tools here. Once again, we have them moving in, but it's a bit too late. The kill against Grease, and this is Greymane also falling, and all of a sudden KSV is running away with the game. A 3-level lead for them as they go in for the triple kill, and that allows them to march straight towards the core.
Such great play here by KSV. Not a doubt in their mind either. As they go onto the core, 11 minutes and 35 seconds. They will take the third map against Fnatic, making it a 2-1 in this best of 5.
Great play by them, and also especially after the recent kills and realizing that they can go for core here. And at the same time, you still have to give some credit to Fnatic. The fight they took at the top fort was incredibly close. If Tyrael hits the Sanctification again, half a second earlier than he did, then Greymane survives, and with Greymane surviving, it would also automatically mean the death of Rich. Rich only survived because the damage output on Fnatic's side just dropped instantly, and he could move out with Whirlwind. If Greymane gets one more auto attack in and a swipe, Sonya is down, and then Fnatic doesn't straight up win the fight, but it's still a very different battle, and they're not going to lose as much. So they said they're not quite on the same page yet. They don't have the synergy yet that they had with the old roster, but you can already see the potential of it. But of course, at this point, they just simply couldn't rival KSV Blink.
And of course, KSV was in the driving seat for most of that, always using the mercenary camps to manipulate the forced actions and revealing of several heroes on the map, allowing KSV the freedom of movement to set up for every Punisher fight. And yeah, they used that very well. Also going for that top fort. Right before Fnatic got level 13, made Fnatic move in. I think it was good by Fnatic to defend the full HP fort, but it was even better by KSV to take that one down. Just getting as much experience as they can, opening up the map.
For Fnatic, I feel it was a question, do we take a 13 versus 13 fight, or do we try and play for the 16 fight? They have to take one of the two, and I think for them, one of the thought process behind it was that the time window to 16 was too big. KSV probably gets another Punisher out of it, and in this case, they were just not willing to give that up. So if they stall that out, if they let the fort go, then KSV gets more experience. They hit level 16 first. Fnatic has to give up another Punisher, get experience until 16. And I think, because I feel they would have preferred the 16 versus 16 battle. Sonya scales very nice into the late game, but so does Diablo. And his power spike with domination on 16 is crazy small.
Definitely agree with that. If they could get that 16 fight, it would have been lovely, but who knows what else happens until then.
Exactly.
I guess the main point that made it slightly less attractive for Fnatic to take that fight is that Diablo excels specifically in areas where there's very little space. And in defending that top fort, Breeze was not even able to combine any shadow charge with a wall stun, because it's such an open space. I think KSV is thinking about that as well. Anytime we can pull out Fnatic to force a fight into the relative open, and there's almost nothing more open than that particular area, then they have a pretty good situation to deny Warrior too much value from Fnatic.
Nokoja gets the MVP of the game. Detainment strikes were absolutely on point, denying a lot of opportunities to Fnatic here and putting a lot of pressure also onto Breeze in particular, as he tried to charge in several times and was just stopped cold.
He didn't know he's on camera.
No, he definitely didn't.
Your MVP, how do you feel about that?
I mean, technically he wasn't. His hair was.